Welcome to Stronger Weekly, brought to you by Purist Nutrition. I'm your host, Jesse Karajat. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome for the first time. And thank you for tuning in. I'm recording this the weekend of Memorial Day. I'm so stoked for the summer. I hope that you're all revving up for an amazing summer season. I always like to ask to start the show, if you're not already following the show, hit that follow button right now wherever you are getting your podcast. That could be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening. New episodes drop every single Wednesday. Be so grateful if you would do that and maybe share this with a friend or someone that could benefit from the show. Thanks in advance for that. So for today's episode, we've got a good one. I'm just going to warn you, I could get fired up. We're going to be talking about online fitness influencer culture, and boy, oh boy, almost 2.5 years here, actually more than 2.5 years doing the show. Man, I've kind of dove headfirst into online fitness and all these things. And I may be a little outspoken today. I will try to be kind. But the reason that we're focusing on this particular topic right now is because it's timely, because Pew Research just published a landmark study on who's actually giving health and fitness advice online. Of course, online can mean anywhere on the internet, specifically on social media. And the numbers from this study are wild and concerning. Just some of them, and we're going to go deeper later, but 4 in 10 American adults now get their health information from social media influencers and podcasts. Nothing wrong with getting health and fitness information from podcasts. I think it's the social media side. Unfortunately, sometimes they go hand in hand. Some of the bigger influencers are now venturing into podcasts. Here's some more for you. Half of adults under 50 get their health and fitness information from online. And here's the kicker, guys. Here's why we're focusing on this. 16% of said influencers list 0 credentials and have 0 actual experience in the health and fitness domain. Gross. That is gross. So in other words, so many of us are getting information from so many people who know nothing about those very topics. So we're going to unpack that in our deep dive. But as we always do, first, let's hit our weekly health brief. Here are the 5 health and fitness headlines that you need to know this week. All right, your first headline, breaking news this week. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, aka HHS, released a 43-page Surgeon General's advisory warning about the harms of excessive screen time for kids and teenagers. So Health Secretary RFK Jr. announced it on Wednesday in Gilbert, Iowa, as part of his, quote, Take Back Your Health tour. I love all the cute little phrases they use for these things. But here are the numbers that should grab your attention. So by adolescence, children in America spend an average of 4 or more hours per day on screens. Some kids are spending more time on screens than they do sleeping or even attending school. And nearly half of adolescents admit that they lose track of how much time they spend on their phones. The advisory directly links screen time to worse sleep, decreased school functioning, less physical activity, weakened in-person relationships, rising pediatric obesity, and heightened anxiety and depression. So terrible outcomes here linked to this increased screen time. So Secretary Kennedy wrote in the letter accompanying the advisory, quote, While screen use can have some benefits, the evidence of a range of risks to children's overall mental and physical health is mounting, and I'll add, and overwhelming. So the new recommendation limits, and here they are, no screen time for children under 18 months old. I would hope that was obvious. Less than 1 hour per day for kids under 6, and no more than 2 hours per day for ages 6 to 18. So if you've been following these recommendations as a parent like I am, it's going down more and more and more. In other words, put it less and less in screen time recommended for kids. So if you're a parent, this one's for you. The toolkit is available on hhs.gov. Read it, download it, and frickin' use it. Keep your kids off screens. Next up, major, not only national news, but international news around Ebola. So the CDC mobilized an international Ebola response team last week after the World Health Organization declared a public health emergency of international concern on May 17, 2026. This is only the 8th such declaration in WHO history. And here are the latest numbers. As of this week, over 500 suspected cases and at least 131 deaths have been reported in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The strain is the, try to say this, Bundibugyo virus, a rare form of Ebola first identified in 2007 that can cause outbreaks with high fatality rates. Uganda has confirmed 12 cases imported from the Democratic Republic of Congo with one death. An American missionary doctor, Peter Stafford, contracted the virus while treating Ebola patients at, another word, Nyokunde Hospital in eastern DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. He was airlifted to Berlin's Charité Hospital for treatment in a specialized isolation ward. 6 high-risk contacts are being monitored in Germany and the Czech Republic. Now, here's what you need to know. Ebola is not airborne, thank God. The CDC explicitly states the virus, quote, does not spread through casual contact or air. It spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids of infected people. The risk to the American public remains low. And that said, the CDC has issued a level 3 travel health notice for DRC and level 1 for Uganda if you are planning to travel to Central or East Africa. Check those advisories before you go. This next one, we always like to pull kind of an interesting or surprising headline for the show, and this one surprised even the experts. A new study from University College London published in the journal Innovation in Aging found that engaging with arts and culture can slow biological aging at the same rate as regular exercise. So here's what I mean. Researchers analyzed survey data and blood samples from 3,556 UK adults. The finding, people who engaged in arts and cultural activities at least once a week aged approximately 4% slower than those who rarely engaged. That's the equivalent of being about a year younger biologically. Dr. Stephen Horvath at UCLA, the geneticist who developed the original epigenetic aging clock, was surprised, saying, quote, honestly, it really surprised me. What is particularly new to me is that arts engagement may have comparable effects to physical activity. So here's the takeaway. Health isn't just about gym time and daily movement and meal prep and nutrition. Get out, go to a concert, visit a museum, read a book, play an instrument, listen to music, because clearly those things are helping you age slower as well. So super fascinating stuff. All right, look, as a busy parent and professional, the hardest part about staying healthy is eating well, not training. It's all the meetings, it's picking up kids, running left and right, jumping around, and just trying to have good nutrition around the clock. And that's why I am so happy to have found Purist Nutrition's high protein bars. Look, for years I would just grab whatever protein bars, whatever supplements, and I did not really have an appreciation for the quality of the ingredients. And that's why Purist Nutrition is such an important partner to this show. These protein bars are not only absolutely delicious, they have totally natural ingredients, no artificial junk, and honestly, they are so healthy and so good that I give them to my kids and they absolutely love them. I bring them with me everywhere I go, whether it's in my gym bag or in my briefcase bag when I'm traveling for work. So they are absolutely amazing. If you are constantly on the go but not willing to compromise on what you eat, these belong in your bag. So you can go to puristnutrition.com. Again, that's puristnutrition.com to check out all of Purist Nutrition's supplements and high protein bars. One more time, that's puristnutrition.com. Clean fuel, real ingredients, zero compromise. Next up, some good news about drug overdoses in the United States. So for the third consecutive year, new CDC, that's the Centers for Disease Control, provisional data released on May 13th showed that drug overdose deaths in the United States continued to decline, and the numbers are remarkable. So the CDC predicts 69,973 drug overdose deaths for the 12-month period ending December 2025. In case you're wondering, that is a 13.9% decline from the previous year in 2024 and the lowest reported number of overdose deaths since October 2019, which is pre-COVID-19 pandemic. And to put that into context, in 2023, the U.S. lost approximately 110,000 Americans to drug overdoses. By the end of 2025, that number dropped to roughly 70,000. That's 40,000 lives saved in 2 years. And the biggest state-by-state declines, in case you're wondering, Oregon down 35%, North Carolina down 34%, New York down 32%, and Alabama down 28%. So the CDC attributes the decline to expanded naloxone access, increased medication-assisted treatment with drugs like buprenorphine and methadone, and harm reduction programs. So as Allison Awadi, director of CDC's National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, said in announcing the data, quote, more than 70 lives saved every single day in America. And when you put these figures into context, folks, 110,000 American lives lost in the year 2023 alone, and compare that to some of the wars that we've been facing. I mean, so many more people die from drug overdoses still. And it's great to see this decline year over year, and I hope it continues. But man, it really just puts it into context. I mean, how many people's lives are lost every single year and could be saved. So if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the SAMHSA National Helpline is 1-800-662-4357. Again, that's 1-800-662-4357 for free, confidential, 24/7 support. Great news here. And your last health and fitness headline of the week. This is about resistance training guidelines being changed for the first time in 17 years. So the American College of Sports Medicine, also known as the ACSM, just released an updated resistance training guidelines, and it is worth paying attention to. It's the most authoritative body in exercise science worldwide, in case you're wondering. So the headline finding from their position stand published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise is that resistance training is simpler than you think. Any amount of strength training improves muscle, strength, and overall fitness. Consistency matters far more than finding the perfect program. And here's what's changed. So the 2026 guidelines confirm that for the average healthy adult, these following things are not required. 1, training to failure or momentary muscle failure. 2, using free weights specifically over machines or vice versa. 3, complex periodization schemes. And 4, multiple sets. Even single set training produces results. So lead author Kayla McAvoy, who is a PhD and an ACSM certified exercise physiologist, summarized it this way, saying, quote, load and volume should be tailored to individual goals. While many styles of resistance training generate results, outcomes can be optimized by adjusting the approach. So translation, right? Just lift 2 to 3 times per week. Get progressively stronger over time. You do not need a PhD in exercise science to build muscle. And as we're about to talk about, you do not have to follow some fitness influencer and do what they do to get results. Just get out there, get moving, strength train, make it hard over time, and you will be good to go. And that is it for your weekly health brief. All right, folks, welcome back to the show, and let's talk about online fitness influencer culture and the Pew Research study that dropped this May 2026, which I referenced in the intro. And this is honestly one of the most important pieces of research on health and fitness media that I've seen in years. So here's the scoop to set it up, and this is why we're covering this. So let's go deeper on the actual study and what came of it. So Pew analyzed 6,828 health and wellness influencers with at least 100,000 followers on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. And can I just say that again? 6,800 plus health and wellness influencers, as if that's not enough. The caveat of having 100,000 followers, that is a lot of people with a lot of followers. Do we really freaking need 6,800 health and wellness influencers? I mean, I can just press stop right there and be like, guys, we got a problem here. Too much, just too much. And what they looked at is who these people are, how these influencers describe themselves, and what credentials, if any, they claim to have. Another caveat, anybody can claim to have a credential and actually not have it. I mean, I had a certified, I don't even remember the letters anymore, but I was a personal trainer. So I think it was a CPT, certified personal trainer. And I was also a certified health coach through ACE. Now, I know that those certifications have expired. Now, could I put those letters after my name just to give myself some more like street cred or some authority? I absolutely could. Do I? No. Do a lot of people Probably. So on credentials, even as I go deeper into this, and by the way, I'm 3 sentences in, I can't even stop commenting on this, but we have to be very skeptical of the people that claim to be influencers and the credentials that they have. Now, back to the study. So what they looked at was all of these 6,828, and basically it's like, who are these people really? What is their credibility to be able to giving this information to people? And then they surveyed over 10,000 American adults to understand how people are actually using the information from these influencers and whether or not they're applying it and how they feel about it too. And here are the findings. So 4 in 10 American adults, so 40%, and half of adults under 50 now get their health and wellness information from social media influencers and podcasts. Not from doctors, not from registered dietitians and the like, from influencers. I hate that word. And who are these influencers? Let's get into what they found. So 41% describe themselves as some sort of healthcare professional, which includes doctors, nurses, physical therapists, nutritionists, chiropractors, naturopaths. I don't even know what that is, honestly, but the whole spectrum, right? So 41%, 4 in 10 say, yes, I am a healthcare professional. And again, take that with a grain of salt. You got to verify credentials, especially if you're going to follow them, right? 31% call themselves coaches. Ugh. Diet coaches, fitness coaches, life coaches. Many of them offer one-on-one services or sell guides. Of course they do. Coaches, there are great coaches, but what is that word? Like, what qualifies someone to say, I'm a coach? Be very careful if someone just says, I'm a coach. 28% are entrepreneurs. They own things like wellness studios, medical practices, or sell licensed products and treatments. And here's the stat, really, that should alarm you. 16% don't mention any background or expertise in their bios. Nothing. No credentials, no training, no certifications, just their content. And let's face it, a lot of these people have built really, really impressive physiques, and that alone is their credential. In other words, they put the work in, they put the time in, sometimes probably use supplements we don't know about or don't have access to. And that is their calling card itself. It's their body. And there's some, I totally get that. But at the same time, it's a problem, right? So those are some statistics. And just put that in a little bit more perspective. If 6,828 influencers were studied, that means 1,100 of them are giving health advice to hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of followers, and they have 0 listed qualifications. And people are listening, obviously. The algorithm rewards engagement, not expertise, meaning you could have all the credibility and knowledge in the world, but if you're not putting out this polished, clickbaity content and people aren't engaging with you, well, these social media platforms are not going to serve your credible content to people. They're going to take the ones that people are actually looking at and send that out to the world, which kind of feeds into this cycle, this snowball effect of these know-nothings getting out there and getting their information in front of people. Listen, men, when it comes to grooming products, if you're like me, you probably just grab whatever's around you, whatever's convenient for years, and we can't do that. We have to pay attention to the quality of the ingredients. We put grooming products on our skin, in our scalp, and it matters what is in this stuff, which is why I now use Based Bodyworks Texture Essentials, and I'm never going back. I use their texture powder and sea salt spray that gives my hair actual lasting structure, and it looks natural. No helmet finish, no buildup, no clunky gooey stuff, no helmet effect, as I like to say. It contains all natural ingredients with silica and rice powder for hold, and the best part, it takes just 30 seconds and it looks natural and holds all day long. If you've been using the same products forever without thinking twice about what's actually in them, it's worth a look. So Based Bodyworks is clean, plant-based men's grooming that actually works. And you can go to basedbodyworks.com and use code word STRONGERWEEKLY for 20% off. Again, that's basedbodyworks.com, code word STRONGERWEEKLY, no spaces, for 20% off. And if you order now, you get a premium free toiletry bag when you buy a set, because confidence should not come at the cost of your health. And just to pull up for a second and just kind of share a little bit about my journey here, because I haven't always been a podcaster. I mean, I started Veterans Day 2023. And as a matter of fact, I used to never be on social media. Some of my friends used to, make comments to me. I'm like, dude, you never post and you never react to my posts. And I was never in that place. And in the last 2.5 years, by starting this podcast, and you would call it a business, right? Because I have sponsors. Because if you're listening, you've heard the sponsors. Man, I got sucked into social media. And early on, when I started back in 2023, I wanted to grow. I had no idea what I was doing starting this podcast. I'd literally never done it before, just kind of making it up as I go. But of course, I wanted people to listen. I wanted to reach people with my message. So I did what a lot of people do. And I did a little bit of research to try to figure out how to get my message out there. And of course, social media popped up as a cost-effective avenue to put content out there. But the other thing I did, I don't remember if they got in touch with me or vice versa, but I wound up partnering with what I'll call a consultant. They were an agency of some kind. I don't even know how they categorize themselves, but they specialized in helping people, particularly in the fitness industry, develop a social media strategy to reach people. So here's a guy, me, who to this day, and I've always loathed social media. I'm on it simply because it is one such way to get people to listen to the show. But if you listen to the show, most times I'm advocating for you not to be on social media, but I get that I have to be there. So it's this kind of paradoxical relationship I have with social media. But the advice that I got from this consulting firm, and there's so many other ones like it, I don't know how else to put it, and excuse my French, but was fucking gross. Gross. Like it was all of the shit that I hated about social media that this agency was telling me that I now need to do. And here's some of the stuff, right? And these aren't quotes from this agency. This is me summarizing, but take your shirt off whenever you can, right? You got to capture people's attention. So do things that capture attention, right? Find some great lighting and get all ripped up and take my shirt off and snap a picture, whether it's a selfie in a mirror or even like the humble brag shit where like I'm pretending to do something outdoorsy, but I really just want to create this opportunity for you to see me with my shirt off. But it was all about like capture attention. And I told them from the start, I was like, no, I'll pass. I'll pass. And to be honest, yeah, I've done it like a couple times if I'm trying to, if I'm putting out like a free program that says, hey, here's a great like training split. I realize that people aren't like, well, who are you, Jesse? Like, have you done it? Can you actually like show us that this works? Like, I kind of get that. But every time, that maybe 2 or 3 times in 2.5 years, I've actually had something out there with me, my shirt off. Like, I regret it instantly. But that was something that they were huge with. It was all like attention-seeking behavior. Another one was follow the viral trends, right? See what other people are doing, whatever's working. And then you do that too, right? Like dance in the freaking kitchen and do the talking head and have the right captions in there. And they actually gave me this PowerPoint presentation, which was really well done, but it was like, 100 different examples of other content creators. I hate that term, content creators. And just do what they're doing, right? Like mimic what they're doing, which is just so disingenuous, right? But that was another, and that's why when you go on social media, you'll notice there's these trends of like, well, one person's doing it, it's working, and everybody does it. And then that gets old, and then there's another thing, and everybody does it, right? Just not something I was willing to do. The next one, just frequency. Fire out as much content as possible. It was a quantity over quality game. Post 3 times a day if you can. Take your posts, flip them into stories, jump over to TikTok and go to YouTube Shorts. The more you post, the more you grow was kind of like the initial advice that I got. And man, that's just so much pressure. And that's why you see these people, some of these influencers who are honestly successful, you just picture their lives. It's like, dude, like every single instant, like I see people snagging videos of their kids all the time. It's like, when can you actually just live life instead of going out and thinking like, oh, is this a content opportunity? The next one, seek out guests. And this is for podcasts in particular. Just advice that I got was like, don't worry about like the quality of the human being. If they have a big platform, get them on your show as best you can, and then leverage their platform to grow your own show. I get the strategy, but how about like focus on like the quality of the person and their credentials instead of like how big is their platform. But that was some advice that I got. Another one, go around and guest on other people's shows. And I did that. I'd probably been on like maybe two shows early on, and I just cut it. I just cut it because I don't want to go around and sell myself and package the thing. I just want to make good content here on the show and not buy into all these strategies. And guys, if you could look, I have an email address for the show. It's contact@strongerweekly.com. If you could read the guest requests to come on this show that I get, this spray and pray mentality or strategy where like clearly it's like an agency or something that's just like throwing out, and it reads the same every time. Your recent episode of Stronger Weekly really impressed me with your focus on this. Da, da, da. Allow me to introduce, and then it's like I'm making up a name here. Mary Martin came up with a new way to breastfeed at 2 a.m. without stress. And I'm like, did you even do your homework before you reached out to me? But it's just this like garbage, like, hey, let's just send it out to 1,000 people and then hope for the best. Again, indicative of this like social media kind of phenomenon and like where people are at right now with just getting content out in the world. And then here's the last one. And this is the one that just drives me absolutely crazy. Build a funnel and sell something. Right. When I started this podcast, I was like, no. And we used to talk a lot more about like alcohol abuse and mental health and the through lines of fitness. But I just wanted to create like a weekly show and just be vulnerable and be real. And the advice I was getting was, Jesse, don't just grow your audience. Have this phrase, high ticket coaching package that you can then sell to these people. And basically it was all about like build a funnel, convert them, and then find ways to like use AI and efficiency so you can remove yourself from the actual service that these people are offering. Guys and folks, I can't tell you this enough. Like that is the game out there for a majority of these 6,000 freaking influencers, right? They're either trying to get you into some coaching program where they promise you all this individualized, personalized attention only to farm you out to like automation or throw you in these big like 100-person weekly calls and then just kick you over some program that's cookie cutter, that's not even customized to you. They're either doing that or they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you a product, a service. They have affiliate links and all those things. And they're not there for you. And what I'm so grateful, and I praise God for this, whatever you put it in me, but I just couldn't do it and I wouldn't do it. And instead of doing all these kind of viral cheat codes and doing these things, I stuck to my guns. I tried to be as authentic as I possibly could the whole time. And has the show grown? Absolutely. I mean, 100%. And I'm so grateful, but it took a while. Like it took a long time, but I chose the slow road with integrity instead of the shortcut bullshit fitness influencer road that you see out there. And guys, like I told you, I was going to try to be kind, but I just have to be honest. When I go on social media, which I try to do at least once a week to just post a couple good pieces of content out there, and I'm just seeing like, are you a busy dad? Blah, 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 blah. Do you want, I saw one the other day. It was an ad. Someone was actually paying an ad to serve to me. It's like, are you a busy Christian professional dad? Like these people that just try to like niche to find you. And it's just, it's too much. And again, the reality is these people, right? Fitness, let me say this, fitness information, if you look for it, reliable fitness information is free. It should be free. And there are viable, really good, talented, well-intended, I'll call them influencers out there that you can find that do give a lot of free information away. But so many of the people are not that, of these 6,500 whatever influencers. I mean, they claimed things like, well, fix your hormones in 30 days with no medical degree, no endocrinology training. They hook you with content. Maybe they look good. And then you get into their pipeline and boom, here's a $500 one-time purchase for some plan, right? Or, adrenal health, or they'll help you, quote, reverse metabolic damage with absolutely no scientific foundation or concept of what metabolic adaptation actually is. Just a meal plan that they'll sell you. They just want to hook you and sell you. Another thing to be mindful of, bots, fake followers. I mean, you know how many solicitations that I've gotten when I started to say, hey, would you like 10,000 Instagram followers for $200? Would you like, blah, blah, blah. Like, look at some of these people. I've seen people that have like 250,000 followers. And then you click on, well, first off, sometimes they hide their actual, engagement and stuff. But then you like look at a piece of content and it has like no actual engagement, no real comments. Sometimes you can click on an influencer, and I've done this, and you can see their followers. And you can see that they're straight up bots or paid followers. You'll see a telltale example is that, like, if you see a follower of a person and they are following 4,900 people, but they themselves have 20 followers, that's a bot. So some of these people are just paying for the optics of looking credible with no credible training. And then you just go, oh, they have a lot of followers. They must have good information. And then boom, you're in, you're captured. And if you click through, they're going to be selling something. I absolutely promise you. Why does this matter? Why am I talking about it? Because there's consequences to this. As I mentioned earlier, so many people get their information from these people, oftentimes instead of licensed medical professionals. And there's another data point in this research from Pew that says that a majority of these people are people that don't have health insurance. And a lot of people that don't have health insurance, not all, but a lot, are the ones that sometimes have health issues. Maybe they're lower income and they don't have good diet or nutrition, and that's why they're looking for advice. And the consequences, number one, is people are getting bad advice. They're just getting incorrect advice, or they're paying far too much for it when it's free somewhere else, right? A second consequence is people just get overwhelmed by the information. And they get overwhelmed because they hear one thing from, let's just say, a doctor. They hear another thing from random influencer B, and another thing from another influencer, so on and so forth. And that information contradicts each other. And then people get overwhelmed, and then they just have decision fatigue and they do nothing, right? So people get overwhelmed. And then I think a third consequence of this whole social media culture, fitness culture, is you start to just mistrust. You just don't trust anything. You know, back in the day, you go on Instagram and you want to see what your friends are doing. You want to laugh at a reel, and you're just getting bombarded with ads from these types of people. Everyone's just selling something. You know, I started referring to social media once I jumped into this podcast as basically like the yellow pages. It's like the freaking yellow pages. You open it up and it's just ad, selling, ad. And that was not the original intent of social media. And I realize this conversation is morphing into just a critique of social media. So here's where I land on all of this. As much as possible, I am going to try to give away fitness and nutrition information for free, because fitness can and should be free. Coaching itself, right? Real coaches who are going to invest time in you, who are going to give you individualized, personalized plans. There is so much value in that. But the information itself, best strength training protocols, best nutritional protocols, you know, how to run farther, how to improve your cardiovascular health, how to reduce inflammation, on and on and on. That information, folks, is out there and it's accessible to you. Go to trusted sources to get that information. And if you feel like you could benefit from coaching, do your homework, verify the credentials of these people, ask around, get some referrals. Don't just trust someone who looks good on Instagram and is playing the game, because the statistics show you, like I said in the intro to this feature, that they don't know what they're talking about and they're going to oversell you and overprice what they're giving you. Now, again, I have to say, there are really, really good folks out there in social media that technically would fall under the influencer umbrella. You've got people like Cameron Martin, aka the Martin Method, busy dad out there just putting out all sorts of great content that I know for a fact invests into the clients that he finds. Ben Barker, the Ben Barker Fitness, another guy, Christian dad, just out there trying to motivate people not only to be fit, but to show up as spouses and parents and to get in the Bible and work out more. And then there's bigger platforms. You have like, you know, Dr. Andy Galpin is one of my favorites. I mean, he's one of the best thinkers and minds in the fitness space. I mean, his podcast is amazing. He knows his stuff. He's someone that I go to. So there are good, credible people out there, but unfortunately, they are in the minority, folks. And you think about like my show, right? Like, is this a business? Yes, this is a business. I mean, if you're listening to this episode, you've heard sponsors here. But here's the catch for me, right? Like, my show is the product. Like this is it. I'm just giving you information. And as time goes on, you can go to my website, strongerweekly.com. I'm going to take a whole bunch of training splits, like 3 days a week, 4 days, 5 days, nutrition guides, alcohol reduction guides, and just give that shit away. Just give it to you. But the sponsors that I work with are brands, are people behind those brands with products that I actually use and benefit from. And I know them by name, right? Like, so Rep Fitness and Purist, right? You got Connor and Sydney and the other folks from that, and they're just awesome awesome people that I get to know over time, and I use their products. Like Or Health is another one. You probably heard the ad already about Or Health with alcohol, it's naltrexone medication. Neil and Jonathan, the founder from Or Health. I mean, I have personal relationships with these products, and I offer them up to you, and I'm partnered with them because then I can authentically say that they work. And do you have to use them? No. But if you are looking for a supplement or at-home gym equipment or, something to help you with drinking, like, please go ahead. But at the end of the day, I'm just putting content out there that hopefully betters your life. And I hope that it does. All right, let's be honest. You're probably not a professional athlete with a personal chef and unlimited recovery time. If you're like me, you're hitting the gym at 5 a.m. before work or squeezing in training between meetings, just trying to stay consistent while life keeps throwing you curveballs. That's exactly who Purist Nutrition was made for. Purist keeps it simple. NSF-certified supplements with minimal, clean ingredients that actually taste good. No artificial ingredients and no proprietary blends where you're guessing what you're taking. Just premium actives like CreaPure, the purest creatine on the planet, whey isolate protein that is US sourced and easy on the stomach, and hydration that keeps you going without all the extra sugar or sodium. Whether you're a parent juggling kids and training or just someone who refuses to compromise on quality, Purist Nutrition fits your routine. Built for tomorrow, science-backed, tested and trusted by athletes, and most importantly, effective. Visit puristnutrition.com to see the full lineup of quality supplements. That's puristnutrition.com, because your nutrition should work as hard as you do. But my point in saying all that is, and this is just a PSA to anybody listening, if you are going to engage and actually take advice from these people, don't take my word for it. Take this research for it. Verify the credentials of the person that you're following, and please proceed with caution, because it matters so much where you get your information. And if you're going to get your information, get it from a credible source, and please don't overpay for it. Come to a show like mine or someone else who's just giving it away for free. All right, folks, that's it for our little expose. I think that's what they call it. Little feature on the state of online fitness influencer culture. Now, we have 2 new segments here to wrap up the show. We're going to do it every single week. This one is called Apocalypse Now. For anyone that read Sports Illustrated back in the day, they used to have this amazing feature in every single magazine, what would be called? Episode, issue, whatever. It's called This Week's Sign That the Apocalypse is Upon Us. But essentially, man, there's so many things happen out there in the world that are just frustrating or just indicative of a rot in our culture. And this is one of them. And then we're going to move towards more of like the good stuff. But here's this week's Apocalypse Now segment. If you don't know, now you know. The U.S. was just about to put, timely story here, was just about to put a wellness influencer in charge of America's public health. Her name was or is Dr. Casey Means. She was the latest nominee for U.S. Surgeon General, the role that is colloquially known as America's doctor. And she would replace the previous nominee, Dr. Janet Nushawat, who was withdrawn after it emerged she had misrepresented her medical credentials. Now, here's why this is the Apocalypse Now of the week's Casey Means resume. She graduated from Stanford Medical School. Impressive. She started a residency in head and neck surgery. Also impressive. And then she dropped out. She never completed her residency. She does not have an active medical license in any state. What she does have is a wellness empire. She co-founded a company called Levels, a continuous glucose monitor subscription service for people with diabetes. She wrote a best-selling book, of course she did, called, quote, Good Energy. She has hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. Of course she does. She sells supplements. Why not? She makes podcast appearances. Who doesn't? And of course, she is a wellness influencer. And here's why this is a problem. The Surgeon General oversees the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corp. That's 6,000 active duty officers responding to disease outbreaks, natural disasters, and public health emergencies. This role is important and requires a candidate to be a vice admiral. The job is to advise the president and Congress on the health of the nation. Does this sound like something that is appropriate for a content creator, someone without an active medical license who is not practicing medicine who does play into the whole social media influencer game? No, it does not. And look, I'm not saying Casey Maines is a bad person. I'm not saying she doesn't care about health. I'm sure she does, but there is a massive, massive fundamental difference between selling supplements to your Instagram followers and leading the public health response for 340 million Americans. Look, Dr. Means, she probably could have been an amazing physician somewhere based on how she started, but where did she land? She pivoted and she leaned into the social media shit. If this job requires an important person with great credentials and a great background with great experience, let's hire someone who has just that, because 340 million American lives are important. Listen, folks, let's talk about alcohol. Are you drinking too much? And if you are, you know you are. Statistically speaking, it's very likely 1 in 10 Americans are currently dealing with alcohol use disorder. And if you're one of them, like I was, you want to drink less or not at all, I've got a solution for you. There is a safe, FDA-approved medication called naltrexone, and it is changing lives all over the world. And I was one of them. You can take this medication once daily or even before you drink, and it works by actually blocking the reward signal that leads you to binge drinking. No more white knuckling, no more willpower. This is a solution, and it is incredible. And my partner, Or Health, that's OAR Health, makes it incredibly easy to get started on naltrexone. You take a quick online assessment, totally private, and a licensed medical provider reviews your case. And if it's right for you, if you get a prescription delivered discreetly right to your door. They also offer coaching and online support catered to you and your goals. So if you want to take back control of your drinking, click the link in this episode description or go to orhealth.com. That's OAR health.com to get started. You got this. All right, so that's the apocalypse now. Let's try to land this plane and wrap this episode with what I'm calling the good stuff, something from the world, particularly online, that gives us hope in humanity, hope in the future of our country in general. And this one is amazing. And it comes from social media. Look, I just bashed the shit out of social media for whatever, a half hour. But look, like there's some good stuff on there. There's some inspirational stuff. There's some humor if you want to laugh. And a lot of times children are what brings, or who brings, that joy to us. And that is exactly what I plucked out from the social media world this week. This one comes from the Elitist, I hope I'm saying that right, Elitist Bakery. Look, this is a guy he's a baker. He seems to be really hardworking and sweet and sincere and humble, and he just loves putting out content, teaching people how to bake. And I don't know who came up with this idea. I didn't do enough research on it, but somehow he involved his kids to do the voiceover narration of him baking. And you can hear in my voice if you're listening, but these kids try to explain what their dad is doing as he's baking. Pay attention, particularly, not only are his kids hilarious, but pay attention to them trying to say the word pistachio, because it cracks me up.
This is the day of the life of our daddy. Welcome to his bakery. Narrated by his kids. His bakery is very nice, and I love his bakery. And he makes the cream. There is like 3 different teams. My favorite is the pistachio. It's pistachio, Aya. That's what I said. My favorite cream is the chocolate. Everyone else loves the pistachio. This pistachio is really good, but the chocolate bitter. And make the croissants in the cream. Daddy's a poopy pants, and I really love his croissants. And do everything he does. Now he's putting on the decoration.
All right, folks, I hope that landed with you as it landed with me, especially if you were watching, you can actually see it. But like I said, there are some good things that happen on social media. Unfortunately, probably 1% of the stuff is actually good for us. All right, folks, let's wrap up this episode. So here's my top 3 takeaways from today. So number 1, 4 in 10 American adults get health information from influencers, and 16% of those influencers have 0 credentials and don't know what the hell they're talking about. Ask questions, verify credentials, and do not trust abs over expertise. Number 2, fitness information can and should be free. Coaching does have value if you need it, but the fundamentals, the science, the evidence, the advice, that should be accessible to everyone, whether you get it from strongerleaky.com or anyone else. Please don't overpay for information that should be free. And number 3, there is still good in this world.
There's some good in this world, Mr. Fertile. And it's worth fighting for.
There are good people doing good things, so don't get jaded and don't get cynical. And if you find yourself feeling either of those two things, pop off social media, do a reset, do a cleanse, whatever, buy yourself a brick, something that restricts access to your phone, and take a break. Because if you live too much in that place, you are going to change, and it won't happen in a good way. One more time, I always like to ask in the front and the end, if you haven't yet followed this show, we would love it if you would give us a follow wherever you find this podcast, or of course, share it with a friend or a family member so they can grow Stronger Weekly. If you'd like to leave a comment anywhere, we love to hear from our fans. You can shoot us an email at contact@strongerweekly.com. Again, that's contact@strongerweekly.com. To leave you with a encouraging quote for the week, here's one from Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, who said, quote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Look, guys, you cannot control the algorithm. You cannot control the influencer economy. You cannot control who gets a platform, but what you can control is what you consume. And that means what you eat and what you watch with your eyes, and where you get your information, who you can trust, and what actions you do take. So choose wisely. Thank you so much for joining the show this week. Be strong this week, and we will see you next time.